Hey, string skipping is super easy. You simply have an arpeggio laid out, right? And you skip a string, and you can use that in blues and classical or neoclassical inspired, in jazz and everything. And it's super easy. The reason why we think it's hard is just because it's new. See, basically when we start out, I'm just going to show you this really cool little lick here that you can apply to whatever style you want. Oh, that was a new note there. 12-note jazz. But the reason why we think it's hard, when we see it, it's like, oh, that's uncomfortable. Is just think about how hard it was to start playing guitar. That was a huge hurdle to surpass, right? Everything is new. You have to do both something down here, and you have to focus on two things at once, and it's really hard to place your fingers on the fretboard, and you get all kinds of weird noises, and strings ring out that you don't want to have ring out. Then you move on to bar chords at some point, and now it really gets impossible, right? And your whole hand is just like aching, and it's just uphill. Remember that? Right, and then we become really good, and we start, playing the blues scale and learning some scale shapes, and we can have the rhythm, and we don't have to think about the right hand anymore. And then string skipping comes along, and it seems like, oh, that's an advanced idea, but who's talking? Right? It's the soldier, it's the guy or the woman, the girl who went through hell to just learn to play this instrument on a basic level, right? And we see that, oh, now I'm so comfortable. That's why we think it's hard. It's because we're comfortable. I can do the chords. Now you're telling me that I have to take a step out of that zone of being competent at playing guitar. And it's awkward and it feels weird. This is too hard. It's not too hard. It's just different. Everything else on this instrument usually follows a step-by-step thing, right? You go from this scale to adding some notes to it, right? From the blues scale to adding the Dorians, right? It's just a little step-by-step. String skipping is like this radical idea. Oh, I'm not playing this string in between the two other strings. But I can promise you this, that if string skipping were the first thing you learned, and that everybody was like, oh, we don't play adjacent strings that much, so you better learn scales like... Right, you need to skip the strings when you play. Well, okay, you would say, and you would just move right into it. Just think about the fact that, seriously, you put your whole hand, your whole finger across the fretboard and you start playing bar chords like this is freaking impossible. Just think about the challenge in that. And then the challenge of skipping a string and saying, wow, that seems advanced. It's not advanced. In fact, in the next video, I'm going to explain to you, if you haven't already explained it to yourself, why string skipping is a must to learn. There are simply things you cannot do that other instruments do quite easily if you don't have string skipping. So you effectively, you say goodbye to a total amount of tools and creativity that you could be using, and it's easy. So start learning string skipping today. And I just want to elaborate or move on from the lick we played the last time, the sequence we played. So come up close here. This is a really cool string skipping exercise. Because we were playing within the E blues scale in the previous video. Go back and watch it if you haven't already done so. In the 12th fret, so we had the notes there in the 12th fret in the first position blues scale. I'm just going to assume that you know that. But what we can do there is we can place a E minor arpeggio, a triad, just right on top of that. And that can enable us to play some really cool blues licks. Right? Right? So what do? Well, we have one note in the 14th fret on the D string, one note in the 12th fret on the G, and one in the, let me just see if I can move closer to the camera here, one note in the 16th fret on the G string. You have this span. This might be uncomfortable for some of you who are used to just having three notes in between, but this is not uncomfortable. It's the same concept. It's just new. So your fingers, they want to go for this position, but they need to go for this. You're working against this. You've been doing this thousands and thousands of times. Suddenly you have to do this. And it seems hard. But that's just because you were practicing something else. If this was the first thing you learned, this would be hard, right? That's the whole... So you have to work against what you already learned the more you learn to implement something new. Okay, so we got these notes. Then on the top string, we have the 12th and the 15th fret. And you can just play up and down by saying pick, pick, hammer on, pick the first note on each string, rest this hammer-ons and pull-offs. And reach for the blue note right there in the 18th fret on the high E string. This is sequence. Right? And you can take that sequence and convert it into blues licks. So let's look at it. So you take the top note, you pick that with an upstroke, pull off down to the 12th, you take the G string, pick the note in the 16th fret and pull off down to the 12th, and hit the root note in the 14th fret on the D string. Upstroke again, you turn around, go in the opposite direction, upstroke in the 12th, hammer on to the 16th, and then hit the 12th fret on the high E string and go back again and pull off from the 16th to the 12th. That's it. Right? It really is such a nice foundation for creating licks. So once you got that down, then suddenly string skipping is much less of a challenge because you've been building a new pattern, but you have to move against the urge to just hit the adjacent string and go. Because we're used to just moving from string to string, and we're used to not perhaps moving in that, two whole tone intervals very much. So you can start creating licks like, or so just start ending that little arpeggio there, the E minor arpeggio, on different blues scale notes. But learn the sequence first. And see if you can get out of the mindset of this being difficult. It's not. It's mainly difficult because you learned other things that opposes skipping the string. So stay tuned for the next lesson here, because that's the final really important point about string skipping. And go check out a new program which has 10 really cool pieces, arpeggio progressions that you can learn, and all kinds of cool insights about how to learn this technique and how to become a master of it, practice plans, technical insights, exercises, all kinds of cool stuff. So go check that out. Don't forget to download our free program as well, and subscribe to this channel. Hope to see you in the next video.